Welcome to the Battle Ready podcast, where we know that every single day is a battle. This show is about equipping you mentally, physically, and spiritually to win the daily battles. I want you to become totally free, whole, and powerful. It's time to step into your battles equipped and ready to win. I'm your host, Dr. Kalie Judge. Let's get battle ready. All right, welcome everybody to the Battle Ready podcast. This is Dr. Kalie. We are going to be going through kindness today. You have made it through 4 other weeks. That's 1 month of learning how to have a fruitful life, living in the Spirit. And today we're going to be going through kindness. I have a super spectacular friend that's here to join me today. I've got with me Miss Bri. Miss Bri, say hi.
What's up, homies?
What up, girl? I'm excited for this because I think I say I'm excited for every episode, but I really am because I'm like this series specifically. I've had like some of my best friends, some of my biggest mentors, some of the people that have been able to speak into my life the most, be a part of this journey. And I'm excited for people to hear them. And Bri is one of those people. Her and I met about 3 years ago. Funny story about her. She is the reason why I started going to the Well, which is a church that I still go to right now. And the reason why is because I started seeking and searching and looking for different places. And I was watching their sermons online, and I was like, oh, there's a chick speaker. Let me see if she's any good. And so then I went and listened to her, and I was like, oh, she's pretty good, and they let women speak there. So like, let's go see what's going on. Period. End of story. That is how I got to know who Bri was. But then I got in, excuse me, I don't know what's going on. And then I got in contact with her about small groups a few months later, and she was in charge of that. And then we met at Graham's. We've just been sort of kind of buddies ever since then. Randomly, yeah. I don't know how.
The Lord, He's good.
The Lord is kind to us.
Yes.
So, Bri, why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself? Right now, she is living in Redding, California, going to BSSM, which is a Bible college, and she is just living stuff out for the Lord. So,
come on.
Tell us a little bit about you, about why you chose to go to Bible school at this age, because at that time, you were a teacher.
Mm-hmm.
So what made the switch?
Yeah, so I'm getting ready to turn 30, which is, there's a lot of changes that are coming up. So it's just kind of a weird turn of events. And so what happened was I was teaching second grade in a suburb of Chicago school for 6 years, and I loved it, and I felt really established. But some different events happened, and I was like, there's got to be more. And so I looked into different ministry schools. I was like, it would be cool to work in a church. And I ended up finding this church through Bethel Music. They've got a lot of different record labels out. So I looked at their church. I found that they had a ministry school. And so I was like, my life is short and quick, and I want to run after the things that I'm passionate about. And they have a lot of, they just do a lot to heal your heart. And so I was like, that's what I want to be whole and healed. And I want to come back home and pioneer something new where I can just like remind people that like life is so much more than we even know. So that's what I'm kind of going after.
And I love that. I've been a big fan of Bri's since the beginning. We just had this spiritual connection that I don't think either one of us can really explain, but I remember the day that we met at Graham's. You had a friend with you, and it was one of those things where I was like, this is weird. I'm going to meet this person and talk about thing. And then it was like, oh, she's the girl that was from the video that made me actually start going to the church. And like all this stuff was going on in my head. Yeah. But like in that moment and from that day forward, you've just always been the kindest person ever to me. And I get to witness that to people that you come in interactions with. And so that's why I chose you to come on here, because I know it's not like we're not all perfect at winning at all of the fruits at all the times.
Yes.
But I think for a majority of the time, like, you're just a kind person, and I want to have a conversation with you to help people figure out what it takes to be kind and not be a pushover, and be kind and not be a big jerkbag, and be a Christian. So how
Come
can we
on.
like bridge that gap? Like, so first of all, like, can you just kind of go through, if people are like, what does it even mean to be kind? Like,
Yeah.
I think of, like, we've got to be kind to ourselves.
Uh-huh.
We've got to be kind to the people around us. We've got to be kind to our earth, our environment, our bodies, all of that stuff. So take it away, maestro.
Oh my. Yeah, I think that, like, shoot, from the beginning of our lives, like, we're taught the golden rule, right? To, like, to treat others as you would want to be treated. And I think that is, like, being kind. But I think we have this, like, expectation that, like, you have to be kind all the time, and that is obviously the goal, but we're also human. And so I think that's where, like where you're talking, Kalie, about the fruits of the spirit. It's a fruit. It's something that we're growing in. It's something that we need pruning in, and there are things that we're learning from the people around us. And so if I had to define kindness, I think we all kind of know, like, what that looks like with loving the people next to you and, like, speaking kind words over yourself. Like, so I mean, I think it's hard to define kind, because we all kind of know what that is or looks like. But now it's just the reality of, like, well, what does it look like in my life to be kind to me, to others, to the world around me? And that's where, like, I believe truly it's impossible to fully be kind to yourself, others, the world, without knowing the Spirit of God. So, like, I have to renew my mind every day, and we can talk about that later, but I'm renewing my mind, because otherwise, if I don't do that daily, I can kind of get sucked into the negativity. I can get sucked into the woe is me part of life, which is just real. So yeah, it's just learning how to, like, reset yourself, reset your mind every day, and, like, I'm choosing to be a daughter of the King, and I want to be kind to myself and to others around me. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure. And I think that if we go back, maybe this is your first time tuning in, but we've talked about love. Love was the first episode of this series, and we kind of shifted the perspective from, like, loving others to really, like, how do we love ourselves? And I think that you can't you can't be kind to other people if you're not loving yourself first, or if you're not able to love. And it's hard, you know, if you're a follower of Christ, you know that God is love, and he's teaching us love, and he loves us. And so we're called to be image bearers of him. And that's the biggest key, is, like, do I love myself? Not in a what's that word? Like a chauvinistic or, like, whatever way,
Yeah.
like loving yourself, like being a, like, egotistical way, but, like, do you love yourself in the matter of, do you respect yourself, that you're kind to yourself, that you say kind words over yourself, over your life, over your circumstances? And I think it's really, again, it is about renewing your mind and figuring that out. So I think maybe if this is your first time listening to this, like, we're 5 episodes deep into this conversation of living with the fruits. And I love how you talk about it's not like just a random thing that happens. It's something that has to grow, right? And it doesn't ever stop growing. It continues to grow and grow and grow.
Yeah. Well, and actually, as I was thinking about this, like, I don't think anything in the Bible could ever be like overdone ever. It's the Bible. It's the breathing word of God. But in the Bible, there's a story where it talks about, like God is the vine and we're the branches, right? And that means that we're in a vineyard. But if we're in a vineyard, like, if you've ever been to, like, a great vineyard, there's a vine dresser that goes through and is pruning all of the branches. And so it's like, it's a daily thing of, like, there are hard things that are going to happen. And, like, that's where we need a prune. Like, that's where we need somebody to come in and, like, help us, like, get up off the ground and brush the dirt off, and like, watch how much more fruit grows from that. And so, and on that really fast, I just think, like, sometimes we look at God, or, like, as, like, this vine dresser is coming in and being like, I'm trying to fight to stay out of hell. And it's like, no, the reality is actually, like, God is so, like, he wants to create grapes in your life that are going to create wine. but when it comes to like create, imagine. And so I think the things, like, at least for me, was looking at my God or my vine dresser as like somebody who's coming in to prune me so that I can bear more fruit, not like this mean vine dressers like, I want you to fail and to, like, that's not kind God. And so if I know that destined to create more fruit, like I'm designed to bear more kindness and more kindness. Like that's just who I'm created to be. So I think, yeah.
I think it's interesting that you bring up the John 15 chapter, because I think of all the episodes that I've been recording on this topic, almost every single person speaking has brought up John 15.
Come on.
And none of y'all know each other. None of y'all know what you're going to talk about. And some of these are recording like different, not in the scheduled times. So it's really interesting for me. Like I get to soak this in first and hear that. And it's just so exciting to know that, that's God. And he wants you to know that he is the vine dresser, and
Come on.
We're a part of this. We're in the vineyard, and we're supposed to be bearing fruit.
Mm-hmm.
So what does that fruit look like in your life? Is it rotten fruit, or is it stuff that is like tasty and yummy and like people want to come around?
Come on.
Right?
Yes. Like we should be living a life that, and I want to live a life where it's benefiting everybody else around me, because when you're victorious, Kalie, then I'm victorious. Like that is the way I want to see it. I want to be running after life with just like a fullness of, I want you to be like winning, because then all of a sudden, like, it creates this culture of like, we're going after freedom and we're going after life. Like I want to see life everlasting, So it's just, it pumps me up. I'm like, let's do this. I want to bear delicious fruit that's making yummy pies and wine. And yeah, no more raisins. I'm sick of raisins.
You said that the other day, no more raisins. Like God doesn't create raisins. And I'm like, well.
I hate raisins so much.
Me too.
They're just,
okay. They're kind of weird. Texture wise, they're weird.
I know.
get you. So don't be the weird fruit. Don't be the that's the other thing that I'm all about right now too, is like, how do we make this living as a Christian thing not weird, right?
Come on.
Like, how do you not be the weirdo in the group, and yet still be the person who carries authority and power,
Yes,
and knows who they are because of whose they are, and that's being kind. That's knowing what's happening. But how do we be kind? Can you just go into like, what are some things where you think about like being kind to yourself or being kind to people, or like, what does that even look like? And why is that different from the world, right? Like from the general population, like go stand at the grocery store line, and just like experience people.
Yeah.
Or even at a restaurant, like the way that people treat their servers or at Starbucks. Like you work at Starbucks, how many times a day do you have like rude people coming in there?
Oh,
right?
Jesus help me.
and then in our response we're called to be kind to them too, in that. So how do we go through life figuring out how to be kind in a normal circumstance, then also how to respond kindly in circumstances where it's like, man, I want to punch this person in the throat.
Come on, it's real.
Right?
Yes. Honestly, like, as you're talking, the only thing I can keep thinking of is like, we live in an upside down kingdom. I don't know if it was like Billy Graham. Somebody said once, like, we're living in this upside down world where to the world doesn't make sense, but like, it's not meant to, So the reality is, like, all over scripture, and like, it just talks about when people are being mean to you, like, you go forth and you love them. Like, for example, Jesus could have been born in any time in history, but he chose to live during the Roman Empire, like when the Roman Empire was like at its hugest, its biggest. So he comes strolling in and he's like, listen, guys, when the Romans come to you and they're like, I want you to walk my stuff. I'm not like, like when somebody's like, hey, will you help me move on Sunday? And you're like, oh gosh, no. Like, it's hard. But Jesus came in and was like, I actually want you to help him move his stuff and then take it 2 miles further. And they're like, what? Like, are you bananas? And he was like, no, like, I'm being for real. Like we're going to make this like I want to love them so, so well. And so like the reality is we're looking at life as like somebody can come in like a Roman soldier and be like, give me my coffee right now. And I have a choice to be like, all right, well, I'm just going to spit in your coffee because I'm so frustrated. Or I can look at that and say like, no, I want to be kind to you. And so I'm actually going to like, as I'm making your latte, I'm going to start like praying over it and being like, Lord, I just pray that you bless the socks off this lady. And I pray that she has the best day that she's ever had. And you hand it off and you smile and you truly are like, I'm blessing you to have a great day. Like, that's how I want to respond. The reality sometimes is in life, like when you're at the grocery store and you're like, I just want to get my bananas and I want to go home. Like, it's easy just to like want to shut off your life and ignore everybody else. Like that's just being real. But I think like when you take the time to like get to know Holy Spirit, like get to know the God that's living inside of you, like all of a sudden I can have this heightened awareness of how to be kind to the people around me. So somebody told me this example once. They were like, have you ever been sitting in a restaurant and like you're talking to this person and then all of a sudden they're like, oh my gosh, this is my favorite song. And all of a sudden your ears kind of perk up and you hear the song. And it's not that that song wasn't playing before. It's just that all of a sudden you've been made aware to the song that's playing. And so I think for us, like it's learning and every day how to like heighten your awareness to the Holy Spirit inside of you. That feeling where you're like, I feel like I'm supposed to text Dr. Kalie. Like, I feel like I'm supposed to like just ask how she's doing. And for me, like 90% of the time, the people will respond and be like, I needed that right now. And it's not because I'm amazing. It's because I am living a life where I'm like, every moment I'm like, Holy Spirit, be my tour guide. Like, how should I respond to this? Like, do I give them money when they're asking for it? Or do I say like, hey, I actually want to help you learn how to earn that money? Like, just being like living a life that's just like aware of that Holy Spirit inside of me, like trying to discern, how do I love these people? How do I do kind actions in my daily life? So
yeah, and that's huge. You know, those moments where like when I've received text messages or whatever, like it's almost like you read it and it's like, how did they know?
yes.
How did they know that? That's just getting real and getting that's evidence of a person getting in the presence of God. And it's just being able to love people well and know where people are when it comes to being in the presence of God.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Cause
go ahead.
well, I just think being kind, like it feels like it should be something that's super easy for us to do. And I think sometimes it is, but the reality is as humans, like we're sometimes pulled in this direction of just like wanting to shut everybody off. And it's like, so for me to actually live a life where I'm being kind, and like some days I have to force being kind. Like some days I'm like, no, Bri, you're choosing to be kind today. But like I want to start living this life where it's like actually my first response is to be kind. And so, but like if one thing I've learned from being out at the school that I'm at is they talk so much about like this idea of like me as a person, I am made up of my spirit, my mind, and my body. And for those things to be aligned, like my spirit has to first like come, like my soul, like I know who God is, and I am like renewing my mind in my Bible every day, and like I'm trying to pray every day. And then because of that, like my mind is all of a sudden shifted and I start to think about things differently. And then as soon as my mind starts to think differently, my body, like almost as a result, just starts to look different and feel different. And so it's just like this like domino effect of when I'm renewing my mind, all of a sudden my mind actually like when I set my soul into who God is, my mind changes, and then my body changes after that. It's like I'm telling you, like from my life, it's a testimony. It's real. And so for me, I'm like every day I'm like I want to meet with the Holy Spirit, like with God. And then all of a sudden my mind changes and I'm who I am. That was a lot. Are y'all with me?
Yeah, I think that's great. I think one of the big things is that we've got to ask God to teach us.
Yes.
How to be kind. Especially if you're new to this whole being a Christian thing, or if you have no idea what that even looks like, or maybe you've been around for a while and it's like, I know like you're like there's somebody on listening to this right now that's being convicted of they know that they haven't been kind. Like they're the one that goes to the Starbucks or the grocery store or the restaurant or the whatever, and they're the big jerk bag, right? And if that's you, like it's time to like really own up to how we're treating other people.
Yeah.
And I think too is like I love like the mind, the body, and the spirit. I just love that you brought that up because that's really the premise of what this whole battle ready thing is. I want people to renew their minds, refine their bodies, and refresh their spirits. And I think that if we can get that whole triunity fixed up, I really think that's where we're going to see people be whole and healthy.
Yep.
But the problem with that is that people neglect at least one of those areas.
Yeah.
And oftentimes it's, maybe they have their mindset right and they've got their spirit and soul lined up with God, but they neglect what their body is doing. They neglect the food that they're putting into their body. They neglect the ability to go work out or go move and go do all this stuff and really enjoy that, right? And finding joy in working out, finding joy in eating stuff that's good for your health. And so that's something that I am very passionate about, and I'm on a mission. I want to see the church become healthy, and I want to see them become the leaders in this world. You have recently come on to this journey of you made the mistake of asking me to do a run with you, and by the time that this is airing, I think we'll be running that weekend, or we'll have just ran.
Come on.
So Bri asked me to do a run with her. She's like, I want you to come visit, and I want to do a run, but not a 5K because I feel like anybody can do a 5K. And then not really a 10K because I feel like I could push myself and make that happen. She's like, but I don't think I can do a half marathon. So I need to figure that out. And I was like, yeah, let's see. Let's look it up. And I was like, November 4th, perfect timing. Let's go. Let's do this. So we signed up right then and there.
We did. Now we're the day.
Now we're like a month out from this recording. And how has that, I want to know, like, if there's, do you feel like you're being kind to your body when you're forcing yourself to go do these workouts? Or maybe having to eat a little bit differently? Or what's the experience that you're having that you can kind of tie into the kindness and really just like giving yourself space to grow the right types of fruit?
Come on.
Have you had any like spiritual and physical and mental connections because of the running that you've been doing?
Yes. First of all, before I answer that though, I just want to tell you guys, like, Kalie, and I'm not just saying this because I'm on her podcast, though it's probably helpful, but community is so stinking important. Like, there's just something about doing life with people, and like people who are like, when you look at somebody, you're like, whatever they're doing, like, I want to be doing that. Like when you see that person, like, run with them, like figure out what it looks like to do life with those people that you're like, that's what I want to start doing in my life, and then do it. And I don't mean physically run. I just mean like going after things in your life. Like, I can't tell you the amount of times that I've looked at Dr. Kalie and been like that fruit that's in her life, like I want to see that in mine. And when I start like doing life with her and start learning from her, all of a sudden, like I start seeing that fruit pop up in me. And so I just like, community is stupid important. Like it's, I just can't talk about that enough. So get off my little soapbox. Yeah, about running. So I have never been much of a runner in my life. I actually, when I was like 16, 17, I shattered my kneecap, and I like obviously went through therapy and stuff. And I started actually going to Dr. Kalie's office because I needed help with my hips. But so with running, something that's been happening is like, I remember I went for like, I think I had run like 6 or 7 miles. And when I got back, my knee and then my hip were hurting so bad. And I was talking to a friend at coffee, and I was just like, I'm like, maybe I should quit. Like, maybe I should call my friend and tell her that I can't do it because like, it just hurts too bad. And she was like, isn't like part of the Christian life, like having this relationship with God daily? And I was like, do you know when you're talking to someone, you're like, that seems so like over spiritual, like stop. But the reality is like, what I've found is when I'm running, I actually have like this, like I'm having like these little conversations, which I know this sounds probably weird to some people, but it's just real. Okay. Like for me, a relationship is like checking in with that person. And so like I'm running and I'm like, all right, God, like, should I keep running or do I stop? And all of a sudden I'm like I'm learning how to like, like hear my body and like find out what it needs. And it's just like, it's been in like so empowering and incredible to watch like me learn what my body needs in that moment. So especially like for my hips and my knee, it's like when I'm done with run, if my knee is hurting super bad, I'm like, okay, like what should I do? And usually it's like I need to ice it or like stretch a little bit longer. But I'm like, I'm learning to be in tune with my body and find out like what can I do to take care of it, which in turn is just being kind. Like it's like it seems so small, but it's like it's real, you know? So I would say that's been the biggest thing for me.
I think that sometimes when it comes to that, and I've talked about my marathon experience on the last episode, last few episodes, so I don't want to go into that too much because
You're
I'll
a
dry
beast,
that
by the way.
I'll
Come
dry that
on.
out a little bit. But I think that when we get a chance to, I'm doing this thing, which I've talked about this as well, but I'm doing this last 90 days challenge. And so it's waking up an hour early, which I get up early already. So that's like a challenge. So I did a half an hour. I'm waking up a half hour early and going to bed a half hour early. So it kind of like equals out for me. That's my challenge because I'm already
Yeah.
getting up early. So there's that, and then there's drinking water, and then there's writing out 5 things that you're grateful for, and then writing out 10 goals, and taking away 1 food item that you know that you shouldn't be eating for the next 90 days. And I think that it's just been, and at the time of this recording, it's only day 2 of this whole process, and it's already been a big eye opener for me of just continuing to be intentional. And I know that when we're intentional with little things in our lives, we see intention happen throughout the rest of our lives too. And so there's a saying, it's the way you do one thing is the way you do everything. Mm-hmm. And so we want to just be able to recognize, like where do I stand? I keep looking around because I have the fruits of the spirit printed out on paper around my office, and I've talked about this before, but I have them out there because it's like, there's moments where I know I'm not patient. I know I'm not being kind. I know I don't have any self-control. I know I'm not being loving or joyful or whatever it is. And so these are just a constant reminder to say, hey, remember that spirit that's living inside of you? Remember me? Like, I want to come out and I want to be the one that's living and controlling you, not in controlling you in like a controlling way, because God never does that, right?
Yeah.
But like controlling you in this moment where it's just this beautiful like symphony of like being able to move around and live a life that's just precious. And being kind to people. Like, if you're listening to this today, whatever time it is, like, go to a grocery store, hold the door open for somebody.
Yeah. Yep.
Maybe pay for somebody's coffee that's behind you or in front of you, however that works. Do these, go on like when this comes out, it's going to be the beginning of November. So do a 30-day challenge on kindness. Like, what are things that you can do every single day, 1 thing a day, that's going to be, this is my kindness thing, #kindness, right? And then what that's going to do is that's going to heighten your awareness. Like you were talking about the restaurant experience when the music comes on. If you start doing little tiny acts of kindness, all of a sudden you're going to start seeing bigger moments of, oh wait, I can be kind in this moment too. I can be kind in that moment. What do you think about that?
I love it. Like, I think it's super easy in life to, especially, sorry men, like I'm sure you're awesome, but for women, like I think it's super easy to like be super self-critical and to like start feeling shame and guilt for like, if you're in that coffee line and you're like, if this lady orders one more drink, I'm gonna lose my mind. Like, it's super easy to lose it or like feel like you're losing it, and then to get in your car and be like, you just start to feel like shame and guilt. And so like I just right now want to say, like, we don't have time in this life to carry shame or to carry guilt. Like, I love that it's literally as simple as just like waking up and like sometimes it is just like saying like, I'm gonna make a choice to try, like, to be kind today. And I'm telling you, like, the more that you get to know like who the creator of this world is and like who's created you, like who you were created to be, all of a sudden it becomes a little bit easier just to walk out like that. Like, I want to be a person who is loving and kind and gentle and patient and peaceful. Like those things just start to show up in your life. Like, people can look at you and be like, it's like actually a measurable difference. Like, yeah. So I just right now want to say, like, we don't have time for shame or guilt. So get rid of that. And then start making that decision of like, what does it look like for me in November? And then in December, like, to live a life that is being kind to people, like that's benefiting the people around me, like making them bigger and better. And I love little reminders. I actually have verses in my car. One of them says, I am, what is it? Oh, shoot.
Uh-huh.
It says, I am kind and gentle, I think, and everything that comes out of my mouth should bless the people around me. And it's just so that when I'm driving, like, I have a reminder of the things that come out of my mouth are actually very important. Like, they're very life-giving. And so even when I'm driving and the person in front of me doesn't know how to drive, like, that's not a moment for me to talk badly about them. So, but like having like those little reminders in your office or like on the fridge at home or right by the doorknob, like as you're walking outside every morning, like, so important, I think, just to remind you, like, what were you created to be, and now walk in it.
Yeah, I know we talk about this all the time on this podcast, but like really getting good at like writing out affirmations. And I don't
Mm-hmm.
again, like I'm not just talking about like affirmations of like I am happy. Like yes,
Mm-mm.
there's things that you need to do, but like get really in depth with that. Like that is what you wrote out is it's an affirming statement of that you're
Mm-hmm.
loving, you're kind, you're gentle, and the things that come out of your mouth are kind, whatever it
Mm-hmm.
says. You know, we get so bombarded with things that teach us to be unkind to people every single day. We have
Yeah.
examples of people on the news, we have examples of people on Facebook, we have examples of people all over. Like, just go sit outside and watch people walk by you, and they're everyone is rude at some point in their day. So if you can be that example of how do I be kind with myself, you have to start being kind to yourself first. And so what does that look like
Yeah.
when we look at a from a healthy realm? Well, is it kind of you to give your body a boatload of sugar and expect it to thrive in health? No. Is it kind of you to not take the time out to go to the grocery store and get the nutrients that you want for the week, plan it out, meal plan, meal prep, versus going to a fast food restaurant because you think you don't have time? Is it kind of you to decide to just sit on the couch when you get home and binge watch something on Netflix instead of going out for a 20-minute workout? Those things, when we talk about self-care and health and being kind to ourselves, those things, that's where you can start. If you don't know where to
Yeah.
start with you.
Yep.
Because as soon as you start treating your body differently, it craves that. It's like an addiction almost, and it's looking for that. But if you
Yeah.
continue to sit on the couch, then it's going to continue to look for that.
Yeah. I actually, one of the pastors at the school I'm at, he had said, and I can't remember it totally, but essentially he's saying the sacrifice that you make today will be the freedom that you get to walk in tomorrow.
Right.
And so it's like like, cause there's like some nights where I'm just like, all I want to do is like sit and watch a show on Netflix, and there's nothing bad with that. But if I can decide to, like, when I go home, I want to wash out the cup that I put my lunch in today and then put my meal in it for tomorrow. So that tomorrow morning, like, I actually have the freedom to wake up and have a peaceful morning and then go to work. It is a sacrifice, but those little things that you're doing today will allow you the freedom for tomorrow. And so it does take a little bit of energy, but the more that you start to walk in it, like, the easier it becomes. And I heard a story once of a friend of mine was reading the Snow White stories to her daughter, and she was like, you can pick out, you can pick out one story. And so her daughter picked out 3 different versions of Snow White. And she was like, no, I said one book. And she was like, well, technically it's the same book, but it's just like 3 different versions. So the mom was like, hey, like, that's actually very wise of you. So she starts reading the story and she gets to the second one. And she was like, as I was reading it, like, I was overcome by this feeling of like, how often are we like the witch in the story where we look at this girl who's like killing it, and we're like, okay, but who's like the fairest of them all? And if it's not me, then like, how do I tear her down? And it's like, the reality is no, like, if that person is killing it, like, I want to enhance, like, I think it's time for us to stop trying to be like the witch, even, you know, like, I don't think we always look at it that way, but like, stop trying to be like the stepsister and start trying to be a mom and like love people and champion them. Because now all of a sudden, like, when I start seeing what other people are doing and I'm like, I'm not beating myself up for it. Like if I look at Dr. Kalie and I'm like, she's running marathons and she's got her own business, like she's just doing, like, that's amazing. You champion that. And like, you start to like empower that person and try to like run with them. And I think like looking at how other people are being kind to themselves, like, don't compare it. Just start to like, okay, how can I implement that into my life? Because I think it's easy to be like, okay, I hear what you're saying. Like, that sounds like a really good idea. Like, make a sacrifice today. Like, I guess I could maybe try to do that. And it's like, no, you actually can do it. And like, don't beat yourself up. Don't compare. Like, it's time just to start, like, today, make a little change so that you can start running after the wholeness that you were created to walk in.
I think even along those lines, when we talk about seeing where other people are and like looking up to that, I think that's something to recognize and honor. But I want to speak in the other direction too. Like, if you are that person that is successful in whatever area of your life it is, whether it's your spiritual life, whether it's your work life, whether it's your home life, whether it's your relation, whatever it is, whether it's your health life, if you're successful in those areas, like, find that person that you can pour into. Keep the door
Come
open.
on.
Keep the door open for the people behind you.
So good.
And instead of getting into the selfish realm, well, I worked my own butt off to get to where I'm at today. It's like, okay, so I know you learned lessons along the way. And so what lessons do you have that are stored inside of you that somebody that's watching you wants to know, wants to live out, wants to hear? And so I heard this story one time of, it was a group of women that were at a like a party, and there was this, you know how like people talk in circles, and they were all talking, and this new girl comes in, and she like felt alone and didn't really know where she was welcome, and ended up leaving. And what they realized, they had a conversation afterwards, like, hey, where were you? I didn't see you. And she's like, well, I was there, but I didn't really have anywhere to go. I didn't feel welcome. And from then on, like they started really that group of women started talking about, let's leave a space open. So what I want to just encourage you to do is just always have an open chair for the person.
So good.
For the person that is coming up behind you, for the person that's coming into the room that is nervous and scared. Because I feel like too many times we get into our cliques of people and we close off. And there's people that are just, they just want you to love them.
Yeah.
They just want to feel welcome. And who are we to say that they're not good enough to come into our circle? Because at one point you weren't in that circle either.
Yeah.
And so it's our turn to start being kind to every single human. And what that starts with is leaving a space open to find somebody to mentor. If you're bored, go find somebody to mentor. There are plenty of people that are hurting, and ask the Lord to bring somebody into your life.
Yep. And I love that.
And be joyful about it through the process.
Yes.
It is one of the greatest joys in my life to be able to walk through somebody's seasons and help them through that, to pray with them when I don't know what to say or what to do. But just to be the person that gets to be there.
Yep. Yes. And moms, like, I just want to say, like, my mentor who I have right now, she's a mom of two and a nurse and a worship pastor. And like, she has done life with me so well. And it's not because she's like just tried to find time to fit me in, but she's like, actually mentorship is like learning how to do life with another person. So she's like invited me into her life to like just do life with her. And so I get to watch her like feed the kids, and I get to watch her like learn how to love her children and her husband and clean the house. Like, I watch her do life and I learn from that. And men, like, we have an epidemic right now of a fatherless generation. And so like we need men to step up and start taking boys under their wing and being like, I want to help you learn how to walk into manhood. Like women have, just by like how we were made, like our body is actually distinguished when when we go from girls to women, like we all know how, like when that happens. But for men, they don't really have this like moment in life where it's like, okay, you're not a boy anymore, like welcome to manhood. And so like men, like even if it's in the workplace or in the church or like somebody that you go to the gym and you see them there, like we just like our world needs more men who are willing to say, I want to take a boy under my wing and I want to show you how to do life well. And it sounds like it's going to be really like overwhelming, but the reality is like you're just inviting somebody to come in and do life with you, like. And there's something different about friends. Like when Kalie and I are hanging out, like we're both learning and gleaning from each other. But when I find a woman who's like 10 years older than me, who's done this stage of life, like something changes where I'm able to, I'm learning from her mistakes, but she also has this authority to speak into my life. So I could not agree more with you, Kalie. It's so important.
Yeah. So whether you are, and it's like, which is interesting. I'm like, I'm a mega introvert. Like I would rather not be at a party. I definitely am not the person that's going to go up to you and be like, hey, you want to be my mentor? Because I have all this going on and I think so I get it. Like it's scary. So maybe not like, maybe it's not like on the first meeting, like you're like, hey, I have all these problems. You want to be my mentor?
Right.
But still, like, take the time to reach out. And thank God for social media. Like, you get the chance to, creep stalk them and, like, hey, can you just listen to this for a second? Like, hey, you're good at this. Can you speak into this part of my life? And it'll all happen organically. So, I just want to wrap some stuff up a little bit, make it like a pretty little bow. So, what are some things that you would give advice to as far as, like, I know I'm not a kind person or I need to be more kind. What are some areas or things that people can do to make this better?
Yeah. I really like every day, and I'm not trying to be like that cheesy Hallmark card, but every day, honestly, is such a gift. And there is something about, like you said, like waking up a little bit earlier and taking time to just be silent. And if you're not a Christian, like if you wouldn't categorize yourself as that, like it's a journey and it's a process. But I'm telling you, like when I found that God was real and like the Bible was real, like my life completely changed. And so for me, like when I wake up every morning and I'm like, all right, like today's a gift. God, what do you want from my life? Like all of a sudden it becomes very clear to me, like what my goal in life is. And again, if you have questions about that, like do not be afraid. You can talk to Dr. Kalie. Like I know she would be more than happy to talk with you about this. But I just think it's like every day you're renewing your mind and saying like, what was I made for today? And then going after that. So I would say like that's one thing, like waking up in the morning and just like trying to like reset your mind. And then another thing is like making little goals for yourself, because like we're humans who are like meant to go after little goals. And so if we're talking about kindness, like you can set like attainable goals that are, I'm being kind to myself in this way. I'm being kind to somebody that I work with. And like, just like keeping that heightened awareness of what's happening around me every day. And like, how can I be kind at Starbucks, or how can I be kind at the bank or when I'm driving? And just having a heightened awareness to the spirit inside of you. So
good. I love it. Yeah. I love you. I'm thankful.
I love you.
Man, I'm thankful for this season for you. I just know, I know the vision and that you have for where you're at and what's to come in the future. And I just know that there's going to be just something special happening. And I can't wait for you to be back in Chi-Town, Chicago, all this
Come on. Stuff. Yeah, baby.
I'm excited for you to be doing your first half marathon.
I know. It's going to be amazing. I'm up to 10 miles, guys. That's a big deal for me. I mean, shoot.
No, like if you have not ran 10 miles, then you don't know how big of a deal that is. Because like a good run,
crazy.
A good run is like 2, 3, 4 miles. And like, that's a solid run, right? I did a 3-mile run yesterday. It's great. You start getting up there and you feel like a champion, right?
Well, like, yeah, those last like 3 miles, you're like, this is how I go. Like, I should text everybody and let them know I'm never coming back. Like, oh my goodness. And when you finally finish it, you're like, I want to just like dig a grave and crawl into it right now. But at the same time, I'm like, I can't believe I just did that. Like, I'm basically a champion. So yeah, it's a journey. Shoot.
Also, don't ever ask me to do something if you don't know if you want to do it, because I will be all over that.
Seriously.
Her
Guys.
brother, when she asked me, he was like, does she know that you don't run? And I was like, it's okay, you'll be fine. It's like, we'll make a training plan, it'll be all set. So
Yeah.
I'm just thankful. I'm excited for you, what you've got going on. And just a reminder, like, if you don't know where to start with you. And that means like being kind to your body, being kind to your mind, being kind to your soul. Start writing out. I can't say this enough, but start writing out these affirmations. I'm going to get I'm working on getting a booklet together with affirmations in it that are biblical and come like with the scripture attached to it. And I think that's just so important, to be speaking that life into your body, into your mind. Get kind with your spirit. Be kind to your spirit. How do you do that? How do you be kind to your spirit? Your spirit, like, don't muffle it. Don't muffle your spirit. Don't put that lampshade over it. Like, let it shine, let it come out. Like, let's just see what happens if you let your spirit take control of your life. Like, let's just see what happens. And then when we talk about like being kind to our body, like, go, if you don't have to run a 5K, and you don't have to run a 10K or a half marathon or do an Ironman or anything, all these crazy things, but go walk around the block. Go do a 20, 30-minute workout. Like, you can YouTube 20-minute at-home workout with no equipment, and you can follow them along, right? So you don't have to have this crazy gym membership or do all this stuff, but start somewhere. If you can be kind to your mind, you can be kind to your body, and you can be kind to your spirit, that's when you get battle ready and you're able to go out and be kind to other people. Yeah. And that's when like, let's take this outside of us, and let's do a kindness challenge. I challenge you every single day to find someone to do some kind thing to every single day from here on out. And write it down. Write down what you did. Right?
Yeah. I think it's so good. And you know what? For anybody who's listening right now, like, I think sometimes we get caught up in like what we're feeling right now, and your feelings are not who you are, but like, they are real. And I just need you to know, like you were put on this planet with such a purpose and such a time as this. And like, God could have chosen to put you in any generation, but he was like, I actually need you in this generation right now to do a work. And that wasn't a mistake. Like, you're not too far. And I don't mean to burst your bubble, but like, what you're feeling is actually not new. Like, I guarantee that whatever you're feeling, like, somebody else has felt that or is feeling it. Like, you're not alone. And so I think it's just time. Actually, no, it's time for men and women, especially like in today's society, just to finally start realizing, like, no, like, this is what I was created to do, and I need to start walking that out. And so I love this podcast, because the reality is, like, it's time for us to start pursuing, what does it look like to run after health, like physically, mentally, and spiritually. Like, what does it look for me to be fully me and should do? And so this is absolutely a piece of that, but it absolutely has to start with you first. Like, do you love yourself, and are you being kind to yourself? And like, do you trust that God has set you up for success? And if you don't, if you're like, actually, no, 100% not, like, I'm not there, that's okay. But then you need to find somebody like Dr. Kalie, who's like, then I want to walk you through, what does it look like to be healthy? Like, what does it look like to be whole? So, and there's so many things out there that can help you with that. So you're amazing. Whoever is listening to this, you are amazing, and you are set on this planet for a specific purpose. And it's time for that fire in your belly to start rumbling and for you to run after it. Let's go.
Preach it, girl. Preach it. So good. So good. So good. No, yeah, like she said, like, if you want help, let me know. If I can't help you, I know a lot of people that I can get you fit up with that can help you. Whether it's mental, whether it's physical, whether it's spiritual, I have connections to help you with all of that stuff. So reach out. Don't wait. Like, if today is your last day, are you proud? Or what things can you change to make better? So I'm just so thankful for you to join me, Bri. I know that you have a busy schedule and you're being a hardcore student, and I'm excited for you. You've got so much coming up. Yeah. So if you are listening to this, if you know somebody who you think needs to hear this, send this. You can go out, like, if you're listening on the podcast, iTunes, like, you can go and share the episode, copy it, and then send it out to whoever you're talking to. Leave a 5-star review if you feel like you would love to. The more reviews I get, the better it is to put ratings up there.
Come on.
And we're just plugging away. I just feel like there's always going to be one person listening that's going to have their life transformed because of this podcast. So that's why I keep
for the one.
These. All for that
I
one
love
person. If that's you, go ahead. You can leave a comment somewhere, message me, whatever. You can email me if you want some real big help. At kaliejudge@gmail.com. That's KALIEJUDGE @gmail.com. I love you. I'm thankful for you. Thankful for Bri. I'm thankful for whoever's listening. Go out and be kind to people. Give yourself a challenge to be kind to yourself. Do one kind thing for a stranger, and glorify God in every single thing that you do. We love you. We praise you. We thank you. Amen.
Amen. Love you.